we know that no matter how much you support actors to produce, to buy, to process, if there is no available market, if there's no connection between the value chain actors, there will be disconnect. So the third component is networking the value chain actors, and most importantly, strengthening the market. These are the three things that Knowledge Center for Organic Agriculture does, and they call outputs, especially in West Africa. Knowledge Center for Organic Agriculture is Afrocentric project that has action in different regions of Africa. It has, and these regions are actually called hubs. So there is South African hub that contains some countries in South Africa. There is East Africa, there is Central Africa, there is North, and there is West Africa, to which we belong. And West Africa is hosted in Senegal. In West Africa, we have 5 countries that comprises Nigeria, Mali, Senegal, Republic of Benin, and the Gambia. So now, this particular activity we are carrying out is very important because there are some people that have been brought together, and they are called multipliers. And these multipliers are supposed to receive regular training, regular capacity building to support them to be able to carry this out at their different locations. As a matter of fact, it is designed in a cascade manner in which those at the top will receive the training and find a way of delivering it at the lower levels. So we look forward that those that are not multipliers will benefit from this and find a way of trying to become a multiplier. We will always receive you if you find it useful to become a multiplier and ready to train others. Secondly, if you think that what we are doing is good and you want to become a member of the Association of Organic Agriculture Practitioners of Nigeria, it will be beautiful. We will receive you and provide all that is needed for you to be an active member. And finally, we look forward to this training becoming an active one that will encourage others to make use of the training, and most importantly, start organic farm. We insist that once you receive this training, start your own farm, no matter how small it is. It can just be a garden. Most people started as garden, and subsequently it grew into bigger farms. Thank you very much and welcome. Enjoy Saka. It is difficult to get him to do this training, and now we have got him. I do not wish to miss a hoot in his training, and I wish you the same. Thank you very much for listening. You are welcome, Mr. Saka.
Hello, Mr. Fidelis. Are you here with us?
Yeah, thank you so much. I really thank Noan KCO here for putting up this training. I'm usually delighted when I'm always in the midst of farmers. I so much love it, and I think with this training to be a high hope now for every participant, and also the organic family in Nigeria, and also those from abroad as well. We'll be talking about this morning. I need to greet everyone. We'll be talking about, I hope I'm very audible because I'm a bit far away from the phone.
We can hear you, sir. But I think people can also put in the chat box, but from my end, I can hear you. Okay, we're getting responses in the chat box. Please go ahead, sir.
Okay, that is great. So I'll be putting up my training. Please let me share some document with you, which will be the foundation from which this training will be conducted. The preparation and application of inputs in organic farming. This is a NOAA Knowledge Center for Organic Agricultural Initiative, and I'm really glad to be part of this program. So first of all, when we look at inputs in organic farming, we look at several aspects of organic farming. in farming, input plays a crucial role, especially in terms of applications of fertilizer, providing nutrient for the soil, and also repelling pests and diseases. So in this introduction, I think the introduction have already been done and all engagement and done. I'm really thrilled to also be part of you, as I've said earlier on. During this program, we'll cover a wide range of topics, including soil preparation, organic fertilizer, pest and disease management, and sustainable farm practices. And I will guide you through each of these steps so you cannot miss out on any of these important aspects of crop production. Now, to ensure that to make the most of this training, I will encourage you still engaged. In the Q question and answer segment, you ask the right questions, you take a note, keep a notepad handy because I'll be very fast. We have a short time to cover a whole lot of things. So you have to keep note. Then in the Q&A section, we can really talk more about these questions that you have. Networking. So it is important you network like you've just done. If you're an organic farmer, you must network among yourself because it's more or less we are the endangered species right now in agriculture. So you have to network among yourself because it brings so many advantages and benefits for farmers. So in this module, let's understand organic farming input. So introduction of organic farming input, we have fertilizer, which is the key ingredient in organic farming input. In the realm of organic farming, fertilizer relies on both natural sources, especially compost, well-rotted manure, organic materials like bone meal, and seed-weed extract. Seed-weed extract is very crucial because it gives you huge leverage. So if you can get yourself around getting seaweeds is very, very, very important. These organic fertilizers serve to enrich the soil by supplying nutrient-rich materials and also enhancing the structure of the soil. They are known for their slow-releasing properties, contributing to sustainable plant health and long-term soil fertility. In organic farming, we actually take care of the soil so that you nourish the soil so that the soil can nourish the plant. This way, you have your land as your most important assets in farming. And you don't want to be moving from one farming system to another. For instance, in organic farming system, you don't move away from your farm because you treat the soil well, you treat the environment well. So you benefit from having the same land all over again. Instead of planting all over again, instead of moving from like the conventional farmer do. What the conventional farmer normally do is that when they open up a farmland, after using chemicals, synthetic chemicals, herbicides, and all these materials in their farming system, they move away from this field to open up another field after 3 years. Mostly 3 years it takes them to grow on this farmland, because once you have herbicides on your farm, you have chemicals ravaging the soil structures and destroying the soil microorganisms, the soil bioorganisms, the bio network in the soils. Even if you apply NPK and all those materials, the plant you tend to grow will not grow well, because the bioorganisms in the soil play a crucial role in the transportations of nutrient between the roots of plants and the flowers and the whole general makeup of the plant, where they can take up nutrient easily. So you cannot see a conventional farmer using chemicals year in, year out and still sustain that same land. No, it's not possible. He has to move to another land and open up and destroy that land. And meanwhile, he has to allow that land to lay fallow so that those microorganisms can build up again for a period of 3 or 4 years. So for organic farmers, you have this huge benefit of really working in those compost, manures, and all those things into the soil, building up the soil microorganisms, though the nutrients are slow releasing, but they are like forever in the soil, waiting for the plant to utilize as they grow in stages. So biopesticides. Biopesticides are what I call bioactive ingredients that enables you to grow crops successfully without using synthetic pesticides. These include beneficiary insects as well, like ladybirds, microorganisms such as bacteria, lactic acid bacteria specifically. And we also have some fungi. We have the Bt fungi. We'll go into it when we, this is just a brief introduction. Now, pesticides in organic farming. Now, synthetic chemical pesticides are not employed in organic farming. So you are not permitted to use synthetic chemicals to grow your organic crops. You depend on plant extract. You depend on plant extract like garlic, ginger, neem, and so many other materials that you can find from the soil. I will give you certain examples and how to use them, especially neem and all those materials that you can use. I will give you a certain measurements and all that as we proceed in the training. Herbicides. Herbicides are not common on organic farms, but sometimes you can produce some certain herbicides if you have some demanding, overwhelming weeds that are taking lots of your exercise on the farm, reducing plants growth and then decreasing your nutrient load on the farm. So what you do normally, we use acetic acid, vinegar, and citric acid. Citric acid are acids from citrus plants and some other materials that can be deployed on the farm. They are usually 15% acetic acid, which can actually burn plants. There's a way you mix them, but I will not recommend you use vinegar as the first resort in taking care of your weeds. We also have pre-emergence herbicides that suppresses herbs weeds on the farm. But usually these pre-emergence organic herbicides are a bit costly, like the corn gluten. The corn gluten can be deployed on the farm to actually mitigate against weed control. Usually annual weeds that grows on the farm, you spread the corn gluten on the farm and it suppresses it, but not very common in Nigeria. But it's one of the fungicides, one of the herbicides that can be used. Now, fungicides, the correlation between pest attack on the farm and disease is very, very close. Once you have pests on the farm, there are high chances that you are going to have diseases. You are going to be dealing with different diseases. And plants themselves are suicidal. And this is closely related to the nutrient that they are able to take or draw away from the soil. So if plants are having difficulties in having nutrients in the soil, then it uses out some certain hormones calling for pests to come on and destroy it. And then you are going to have issues, big issues. If you have deficiency in soil nutrition, then you are inviting pests to come and destroy, because the plant itself will invite pests. It's a natural way of cleansing itself. So your first control of pests, diseases on the farm will be the soil nutrition. You have to bring in enough nutrition into the soil so that you will be able to control the occurrence of pests. If you have lush, rich nutrient compost on the soil, then the chances of you dealing with pests will be low. So if you're having pest attack and fungal attack on the farm, then take a closer look at your soil nutrient. And fungicides that we normally use on organic farms are like, we've developed certain materials like the liquid smoke. The liquid smoke is a bit effective. It's also speed up germinations because it contains those nutrients. The liquid smoke or what is called wood vinegar has this ability to sprout and grow plants quicker and makes nutrients readily available in the soil when used for plants. So, but for fungi control, we use more of copper and sulfur, more of copper and sulfur. Sulfur and copper mitigate against buildup of fungi. Usually, fungi are great lovers of damp area where the humidity is low humidity, where plants are in huge clusters, they build up quickly. Fungi diseases quickly build up when there is drop in humidity. And liquid sulfur, we'll be able to develop liquid sulfur using the JADAM system of formulation of getting sulfur into liquid state using sodium hydroxide, where we're able to break down those components with high heat and also with the dilution rate, and making sure we have the right pH with the liquid sulfur. And once it is delivered to the plant, it does not only protect the plant from fungi attack, it's also a very powerful pesticide. Recently, it was deployed on pineapple farms in Benin, where we had huge mealybugs. If you've been growing pineapple, you will notice pineapples attract lots of mealybugs, and it requires a whole lot of effort for organic farmers to, even synthetic farmers, the commercial farmers who use synthetic chemicals to really control. It defies a lot of system, but when we use sulfur, which is what we are actively doing in Benin right now with some of our pineapple farmers there, they discovered that it's even more powerful to control mealybug using liquid sulfur than even neem oil. But a blend of both will work perfectly well and reduce the diseases and the pests on the farm. Now, importance of organic inputs for sustainable agriculture. Now, it is important for the farmers to be able to access input on the farm. So when you are setting up your farm, you must look at taking advantage of the environment, looking at what is within the immediate environment that you can really make use of to reduce your overdependence on buying input from outside. This is the sustainability aspect of organic agriculture. This is the basic principle of why organic should be cheaper in the recess than when you have chemicals flying all around, and those chemicals, on quote, can hardly work these days. So with environmental preservation principles, your inputs should be produced and processed on the farm. So some of the inputs that I encourage organic farmers to have is you grow your own garlic on the farm. Garlic is very, very potent, one of the most important pest control ingredients that you need on the farm. You also need hot pepper, very hot pepper that you can use on the farm to reduce caterpillars and all those attacks on the farm. And most importantly, the neem tree. The neem tree, if you don't have on your farm, it is important you start looking how you can grow them on the farm, because they provide a lot of benefits for the organic farmers. They do not act spontaneously like chemicals we do when you are using it to control pests and all the rest, but at least they provide a long-term solution where they act as an antioxidant. It has a particular ingredient in it, the Azadirachta indica, which reduces the abilities of the pests that feed on any plant that is treated with neem to be able to continue to feed again. And once they are not able to feed again, then they die off. So it's a very important ingredient you have on your farm. Now let's talk about soil health. Organic inputs such as compost and manure improve the soil fertility and structure. The organic compost do not only even release nutrients in a slow way for plants to take when they are incorporated in the soil, it also gives the soil aeration, gives the soil the drain where the root systems can really penetrate and work and absorb nutrients. Then to some extent, it helps to stabilize the pH within the region which the plant can really take up nutrient. The pH is important for plant. If you have nutrient in the plants and the pH is not right for the plant, then they are not going to get nutrient from the soil, even if they are manures and they are compost in them. So when you are growing your crops, you have to understand the nutrients and the pH demands of that particular crop. The nutrients and the pH demand. Most often, we focus mainly on having the nutrients incorporated in the soil, and we do not pay attention to some of the nutrients that is needed, the pH that is needed for this plant to be able to absorb the nutrient that you incorporate into the soil. Usually, the range of crops that we grow in Nigeria do not have this acidic pH before they can assimilate nutrient. But there are some certain crops that the soil must go on the acidic realm before pH, before the nutrient can be accessed by the plant. So you have to understand such crops and the crops that needs an alkaline medium to be able to access nutrients, and the crops that needs acidic medium to be able to access nutrients. Biodiversity. Organic farming practices includes the use of biopesticides, like I've said earlier on, that avoid synthetic pesticides. You promote diverse range of beneficiary insects and microorganisms. Now, in the foreign land, you can actually go into some certain shops and buy these insects, the beneficiary insects like the ladybugs and all the rest, and you can use those ones on the farm to control some certain pests. But here, I will share with you some certain plants that you need to grow along with some certain crops, especially when you understand the pest that attacks these crops. Then you bring an antagonizing pest that grows on a particular plant. You plant that crop close to your plant. So once the pest that feeds on your crop of interest, for instance, you have tomatoes and you plant marigold along with it. The marigold will attract some certain insects that feeds on the insects of tomatoes. This way, it will reduce the pest load on your farm, and then you will have the lesser need to start spraying your plant. Also, we have this method of capturing those pests before they actually start laying their eggs. A particular pest can lay up to 500, at least 500 eggs on a farm. So if you are capturing 1 or 2 or 3 pests on the farm, then you have been doing a lot of favor for your plants, because those eggs will grow into larva, the pupa stage, where they can be really destructive. They can really destroy the vegetative growth of your plants, and they can also cause a lot of damage. The pest itself, the adult pests, unquote, most rarely cause much of these diseases or damages like the larva that they lay, because at their certain age, they need to feed heavily. The larva feeds heavily on the leaves, flowers, stems, and even the root system. So it is important you incorporate a kind of companion crops, understanding the pests that your crop of interest attacks, the insect that attacks a crop of interest. Then look for a companion crops that are suitable for that particular crop pest to deal with, so that you have a lesser pest load on the farm. So let's go to healthier food. Well, it is not gainsaying to say you have huge benefit from growing suitable organic crops for our environment and our community. A drop in the ocean is better than not dropping anything in the ocean at all. I know it could be our immediate environment, our immediate community, our friends and families. It could even be people who so much fall in love with having healthy food to taste the way they should. This way, you are incorporating, you are doing your own favor for eternity. You are doing your own favor for humanity. And then, so healthier foods, organic provides healthier foods, no doubt about that. If I give you some certain examples of what commercial farmers do to grow their crops, then you will not even touch it. Pineapples, there's what we call induction. In every pineapple you see on the field, they do not grow and ripen at the same time. Pineapples are very, very stubborn. They ripe at their own pace, at their own time. But most farmers, if you have like 20 acres or 200 acres of farms, you want those pineapples to ripe at the same time in the conventional system. And they do inductions. They inject the pineapples. And these pineapples, when they inject them with some certain chemicals to ripen at the same time so that they can bring in the vehicle to load them and then they have their harvest done. So when you have that on your table, you can guess you are not eating ordinary pineapples, you are eating chemicals with it. Cucumber, for instance, are grown with more than 10 different chemicals. These I know for sure because I've had a lot of people who want organic fruit blossom to increase the fruit blowing of their cucumber plants because they had used so many chemicals. They had used herbicides, fungicides, pesticides, different things, fungicides, different chemicals they used in different combinations. And you know, the uneducated farmers in Nigeria, once the system do not work well for them, then the first thing they do is to increase the dose of the chemicals. And most of these chemicals are imported from China, India, and all those countries with less regulation, and you risk having more of these chemicals incorporated into your meals. Like, for instance, carrots. Carrots are used to remove heavy metals in the soil. So when you have heavy metals on the soil and then you want to reduce the effect after some certain parameters are taken, and you want to reduce the effect of chemicals, then you plant carrot. So now imagine you plant carrot with chemicals all over the place. So you are having serious chemicals being loaded for you in carrots and that you consume. So carrots can also be a warehouse of chemicals, actually. So let's go. Climate change mitigation. So climate change also have huge impact in organic farming. So we have rain not falling in the right time, and we have people planting crops when pests are breeding. So take a look at this. So you have like Tuta absoluta that actually occurred recently. So you have farmers who are able to grow their crops when we have the breeding period of this pest. So organic farming, by next year, I will release some on a biodynamic system of organic farming that is specific to Nigeria, where farmers can take advantage of the breeding periods of this pest, and then you plant after they must have bred and they released their eggs into the open field. So you will not get trapped planting when the plants are already, the pests are already in full blown to release their adults and their pupa and their larva stages. So you just plant after that. So those are the essence of biodynamic system of farming, which by next I will release some list of crops that we can plant and the date and the time you can plant them. Then you reduce dependence on non-renewable resources. So there are some non-renewable resources that create carbon footprint for agriculture. So like the plastics, and there are some synthetic chemicals that find their synthetic salts like like the herbicides, which are phosphate salts. They are phosphate salts that dissolves on the soil and still remains on the soil. They leaches and they goes into the rivers, they flood out and causes a whole lot of damage, not even immediately on the farm where it has been deployed, but the surrounding environment. So resilience to climate variability. Organic farming focuses on soil health, like I said before, and biodegradable and biodiversity, and can make crops more resilient to extreme weather events and climate change. Now, in organic farming, you have to be you have to go into mixed cropping. Mixed cropping creates varieties. It creates a balance with the ecosystem. If you are growing maize all through, believe me, you have high chances of failure. But if you have a mix of maize, like the three sisters I usually mention, which are maize, peas, the ones that climb beans and all those things, you have a varieties. You have the ones that is providing nutrient, like the beans, providing nutrients, nitrogen to the soil. You have the one providing coverage, like the sweet potatoes, like the watermelon. They provide coverage to cover the weeds, and even cucumbers. You know, sometimes you may not stick your cucumbers because you want the cucumbers to provide coverage for your certain plant. So sometimes you plant cucumber to cover the soil, and cucumber release some certain hormones that are in form of herbicides that makes weeds to grow less on the plant when you plant cucumbers. Cucumbers thrives well within weeds. If you ever tried it, you grow them on the floor, they thrive well. So you may not even grow cucumbers because you want the fruit, but you want them to cover the soil, provide those microorganisms and all those things there. So you create deliberately, you create an environment suitable for you to grow your own crops using the advantages of these crops, like really studying them, paying attention to their benefits and the way they grow and the patterns in which they grow, and understand how the roles they play in fixing nutrients in the soil. Like the beans I did mention, soya beans, peas, and all those things, they fix nitrogen in the soil, nitrogenous nutrient, and then you can now plant nitrogen feeding heavy feeders like maize on those crops, on those land, and then you have this symbiotic relationship between these plants and the environment and those things, and then they thrive. It reduces pest loads on the farm and also retain nutrients considerably for you to really excel. But if you have 20 acres of maize, 20 acres of wheat, 20 acres of that, then you are going to invest more in taking care of a whole lot of things that can go wrong, and which will definitely go wrong if you do not really mitigate against them. Then long-term sustainability. Organic farming prioritizes the sustainable practices that work with nature rather than against it. Like I've just mentioned, you look at those things, flooding, you can plant those crops. If your farm is on a flooding, erosion-prone land, then you look at those things you can plant. You can plant melon, you can plant potatoes, sweet potatoes. They can really give grip of the soil. So you plant and you plant, you plant, you plant, you plant, you plant. You don't plant and just reap. Then protections of soil, protection of water resources. So water resources is very crucial in organic farming. In fact, if you are going to farm successfully, you must locate your farm close to a water body where you can take water for your plants, especially during the dry season. If you are farming during the rainy season, you are just an emergency farmer. When you are a real farmer, you farm during the dry season. And that is where there is reward, because most of these farmers, the conventional farmers, use rain-fed system. But for you organic farmers, it is important you look at those systems where you can deploy water from a near water body, a dam, you can dig well, you can do those things. You can even conserve. You can conserve from the rain, and then you use the water to farm later and all those things. You can plan well. So you need to plan very well. Now, economic viability. Organic farming agriculture can offer economic benefits to farmers through premium price for organic produce and reduce input cost over time. So premium pricing, when you are going to organic farming, look at the premium pricing for your produce, because what you are putting in, you are putting considerable care for the environment. You are doing a whole lot for humanity. Then there must be a considerable remuneration for you. You must have quality returns. And also you have to play a role in packaging your produce very well so that people can see it as something they can really pay for. And of course, it tells for itself because it sells itself. The way you have organic chicken tastes different from the way you have chicken grown conventionally. The difference is in the taste, and those who pay attention to it, and then the quality in it as well. And also, key principle and philosophy of organic farming, I think we are really conversant with that: the health, the ecological balance, the biodiversity, creating a whole environment that grows, that take advantages of each of their unique features. Having animals on the farm, you grow rabbit because you want the rabbit's urine and rabbit poo. The rabbit poo can be used almost immediately as fertilizer, unlike the chicken poo. The chicken poo may have nutrients that is richer with micronutrients and all those things in there. But believe me, you grow these animals, the livestock on the farm, so that you can take advantage. Then you can also grow goats, cattle, and all those things on the farm. Just because maybe you have a wide area where you want to graze, you graze them, and then you do that. It will amaze you that majority of the Fulanis right now in the bush are now farmers, because they realize that the nutrients from the cattle, they cannot use it to farm. And so most of them are bringing tomatoes. When you go to the localities in Okigwa and all those areas, you go to their main market, you see Fulani people bringing food crops to the market, bringing pepper, bringing tomatoes, bringing onions, bringing okra and those things. And you wonder, do they really grow that? Yes, they do. They grow these things, and because they've taken advantage of the environment. That is a biodiversity nature of their system of farming, where they only grow. We know them as cattle rearers, and now they are now becoming farmers themselves, crop farmers themselves. So you also can take these advantages. You graze your farm where there's a lot of weeds with your animals, and then they also pull in, and then you can do your green manuring. You can plant some certain crops. We'll come to green manuring after this. Natural inputs. Organic farming relies on natural sources, like I've said earlier, for inputs such as compost, manure, and biofertilizer. So avoid synthetic chemicals at all costs. Synthetic chemicals, no. For no reason. We have very potent organic materials that you can deploy in the farm that will serve even better than synthetic chemicals, proven over time. Then transparency and accountability. You must be transparent to everyone, and to your workers, to your communities, to your customers. The transparency is a culture. Organic is a culture. You imbibe it. It becomes part of you. So you share the love. It is a loving way to live. So with this system inbuilt in you, your workers' fairness, dealing with them with all fairness, we really grow a whole lot of things within your ecosystem. Is an ecosystem of love. So you grow it out yourself. Local and community focus, like I said, incorporates local community into what you do. Your neighboring farmers may not be doing organic. You can support them by sharing some certain systems that works with you, organic, that can wow them. For instance, I shared how I used the fruit bloom. There's what we call fruit bloom to reduce pest load on the farm with a neighboring farmer, and he was like, wow, so that means I'll not be using chemicals. Yes, you'll not be using chemicals. Oh, he was so happy because it reduces the cost burden on him. And then this way, he continues to buy into you, and seeing what you are doing and seeing the results you are getting, then you can also have impacts in the community and the immediate environment and all that. So you really can take grip of the community. Then continuous improvement. Yeah. So the system is not perfect, and no system is perfect. Life itself is not perfect. That's why we die. So you have to continuously improve on it. Improve on any system that you have. There's always room for improvement. It's only you don't look well enough. You buy ideas, you study, you take a look and see what those things that you can improve on. Someone was telling me, how do you weed? I told you can plant maize, cucumber, and plant maize, peas or beans, and then you plant melon on the floor to cover the soil. And also, you only weed once or twice and you are gone. You grow very healthy crops, and then you have results. So it's just about applying those knowledge. Ethical animal treatment. So for my love for animals, I love them so well. So in fact, I can change a whole plan because someone tells me his animal is dying somewhere, and then I would like to give my support. So ethical animal treatment, you must always treat animals with care. With their short lifespan, I think it is fair enough that we treat them well and let them enjoy the best that they can the moment they're on our farm. Resilience. Organic farming systems are designed to be resilient to climate variability and environmental challenges. So because organic farming can be very vulnerable to so many conditions, especially when you have a neighbor who is growing synthetic crops and using chemicals and all those things, you become very vulnerable. So you have to build up resistance to these mitigating issues around you. So how do you do it? You buy them into your system so that they understand the benefits and all those things, and you have an ecosystem that works well for you. So these principles and philosophy guides organic farming and towards a holistic and sustainable approach to agriculture. So let's go to organic fertilizer. So this is my love. Yeah, types of organic fertilizer. We have compost, vermicompost, and animal manure. Organic farming relies on the varieties of natural and organic fertilizers to enrich the soil with essential nutrients and improve its overall health. So here are some of the common types of organic fertilizer. We have the compost. The compost is one of the most important, okay? So the compost is the most important. It's created by composting organic materials like your kitchen scraps, yard waste, plant matters, compost. So you have varieties. You create different varieties, your eggshells, different things. You just bring them to the compost. You bring green manures. You bring the brown manures as well. Anything that is brown, brown cuttings, leaves, carbon, papers, and all these things. You compose them together. And this way you have a rich source of organic manure that you can use. Also, vermicompost, which is not very common in Nigeria, where we use worms and some people are doing it. All you just do is you stack buckets, you put hose in between them. The last one, you are not adding any, not putting hose in the last bucket, and then you keep on putting manures and changing the buckets and putting them after the earthworms. You put the earthworms in there, put those manures and then your scraps and all these things in there so that they can decompose. And earthworms decompose these things very fast, and their nutrients, the nutrient from this, their decomposition is very rich in nutrients, NPK, nitrogen, potassium, and phosphate, and also bioactive ingredients that really speed up microorganisms that speed up growth. Animal manures such as the cow, chicken, horse manure, chicken poo as mentioned earlier on, and also the rabbit poo. You even grow these animals because you need this poo. You want this relationship for your farm. So you grow these animals to take their manure so you can have them to grow other crops successfully. So green manuring, which we rarely practice and which I believe we should be doing. Green manuring crops like cover, afava, but these are for foreigners. But in Nigeria, you can even grow any legumes. Any legumes can serve as your green manure. They add organic materials and nutrients when they are plowed under, improving soil's fertility and structure. So you can decide to plant your groundnuts or beans just to as the green manure on the soil if you want to plant maize. So what you do is you allow them to germinate to a certain height, then you just plow it back into the soil. You make sure you cover it, you cover all the field, and then after a while you replow, then you grow your crops on it. This way you nourish the soil because the structure is much more enhanced with nutrients and those things. Then you have bone meals, which many people do not pay attention to. Bone meal is the backbone of organic farming and the blood meal itself. Bone meal contains phosphate and potassium and calcium as well to some certain degree, which are needed for any tuber forming crops, fruit forming crops. These are crucial for their development. In fact, bone meals will help you provide a suitable soil structure. It allows the soil, especially the bones, it allows the soil to be a bit permeable, to drain properly, apart from providing nutrients for the soil. And then there's another, we get to that part. Blood meal. So blood meal to me, blood is the richest source of nitrogen in nature. On the NPK scale is about 1200, thereabout. And you cannot do wrong with blood meal if you know how to apply it. Fresh blood, you add 1 liter to 10 liter and you water your plant. Believe me, if you are growing ugu and you apply this, you only need to apply once in a month and all your ugus will be lush green. Blood meal, loved by vegetables, and you can also incorporate some level of hash into it. And how do you do your hash? You mix your hash and your bone meal. You add some water to it, you stir. You can also add manure, chicken or goat manure, you stir, and this becomes your fast. I told you most manure are slow releasing nutrients, but you can make them fast acting by doing a tea out of them and then adding some blood meal. It becomes very fast acting. Blood meal is very fast acting itself. It doesn't need to break down too much before the plants can get the nutrients out of it. And if you can add some Epsom salt, which is rich in magnesium and magnesium, then you are good to go. You have a rich source of nutrients for your plant. So we have the fish emulsion. As an organic farmer, fish emulsion is what you must have all the time. And how do you do fish emulsion? You can check your panla, that is the fresh panla, the fresh alaran and all those things, kote and all those fish. You just blend them, add some molasses to it and keep to ferment. The longer it stays, the better it stays. Let me repeat myself. Fish emulsion is just getting raw fish, exclude catfish from it. Any other fresh fish is very okay. Blend it or grind them, then add molasses to it and allow to ferment. After 3 weeks, you are good to go. 2 weeks, you are good to go still. And the more it stays, the better it stays. So if you're a farmer, you should just have this on a reserve. So you go there and take nutrients from there, and then it's very rich in microorganisms, very rich in nitrogen because of the content of the fish, and then you give your plant a huge boost with nitrogen and all those bacteria in there. So we have the seaweed and kelps. Those ones can also be found in Nigeria. They are very good. You can do a mix of this for your fruiting plants and for your flowering plant. When you have more of flowering plants, if your plants are flowering, then you don't need too much of nitrogen in the mix you are giving to your soil. So there are phases of growth in different plants. For instance, tomatoes, when tomatoes start up, they require vegetative growth, they require root formation, and so you give materials that allows them to grow these things vigorously. And these are the bone meals, the blood meals, even the fish hydrolysis, the fish emulsion can give you a good leverage on this. Then you feed your plant. Then when they grow to a stage of flowering, they reduce the nitrogen content in the materials you are giving the plant. You can now do manure, and you can get azomite. Azomite also has some nutrient. They are volcanic rocks that has this micronutrient, boron, and all those things in there that can really help the plants to grow and also flower well. Then the fruit. So at that fruiting stage, you can incorporate bone meal, incorporate fish hydrolysis, fish emulsion rather, the fermented fish, and then you see your plants coming out, and diseases will go down. And of course, growing most crops that are susceptible to bacterial wilt and those bacteria, I usually recommend you use neem cake. Neem cake, you can ferment neem cake with molasses. Get some neem cake, 2 kg, and you add some molasses to it with some water. Then you ferment. Then you use as fertigation. You add to your plants and you fertigate. Fertigation is putting water in your irrigation materials and then supplying those nutrients to the plant. That fertigated. This way, it will neutralizes, especially soil-borne diseases like nematodes, the ones that arises from nematodes. Nematodes are usually in the soil, and you want to suppress these particular organisms from destroying your plant, because what it does is to cut food supply through the roots. And once your plant begins to fruit, and then there are no nutrients coming in from the roots, then they die off, they wilt. So then it gives advantage for other bacteria because the plant becomes weak. There's no nutrient going up. There's what we call root knot nematodes that forms knot on the roots of these plants. And once these knots are there, it creates a barrier from the plants getting nutrients from the soil. But the root is functional, but they block it off. So once the root takes the nutrient from the soil and wants to feed itself, the nematodes is there to feed on that particular nutrient. So this you don't want to happen. So when you introduce neem cake solution or neem leaf solution and introduce into the soil, it mitigates against nematodes effectively, especially for tomatoes, pepper, and all those that are highly susceptible to nematodes attack. You can also plant some crops that reduces attack of nematodes, like carrots and all those things. You can plant them side by side so that you have advantage. Now there's feather meal. Feather meal is crucial. It can be incorporated into the soil. You wash, you dry, or you roast it, then you blend it into a dust and then you incorporate it into the soil. Feather meal is very rich in nitrogen. It also helps. There's this that we do not really talk much about, which is a phosphate rock, the rock phosphate. It's common in Nigeria, is usually found in Nigeria, and this rock is high in phosphate that can be incorporated directly into the soil if it is not processed at all. If it is taken raw from the mining site, you identify such mining sites, you get your phosphate rock from them, and then incorporate. It provides phosphate for flowering, the roots and all those things, and it helps greatly. The guano, which is the fertilizer made from accumulated from bat, the excrete of bat, that may be a bit difficult to get. But if you have bat locations where there are a lot of excrete there, then with your gloves and all that, you can access it and take those things off and use as manure on the farm. They are very, very rich source of manure. nutrients and application methods of organic fertilizer. So nutrients, here is the breakdown of the nutrient content and common application method for some of the most commonly used organic fertilizer. So we talk about compost. So the nitrogen content in compost is typically ranges from 1 to 3%. So it's not much, but it is readily available. So for instance, you have NPK 1515. So the NPK 1515, which is the synthetic chemicals that they use in growing fertilizer, it has 15, it has 15, it has 15 potassium. It is fast acting and it leaches very fast. It washes off the soil. So, and after a prolonged period of use, you destroy the soil microorganism, the soil microbiomes, you destroy it. After it has been destroyed, even if you applied NPK 100, the plant will not do well because the microorganism is needed. But for compost, you work in those microorganisms and then they are biodegradable, and these biodegradable nutrients are being released gradually as the plant grows up. It does not overwhelm the plant. The plant gases as long as there's water released that makes the nutrients soluble and the pH is just right for the plant, and it does well. Then phosphorus. Phosphorus is essential for root development, like I said earlier, and flowering and fruit production. So the phosphate rock, fruit production, you need that for fruit production. The phosphate content in compost is usually lower than nitrogen, may range from 0.5 to 2%. May not be much, but it's sustainable. Then potassium is also there, is around 0.5 and 2 as well. So the application method in compost is to spread. So you can spread compost. You can put on a surface dressing. Now, then you can also do what we call you put in a hole where you transplant on them, the basal application. You can actually apply in the hole, then you add to it. Then you can do a designer compost. This designer compost, you get compost, you get bone meal, you get blood meal, the powder one. Then you mix in a ratio that you get an NPK value for these materials. The compost the chicken has its own NPK value. Bone meal has its own NPK value. Blood meal has its own NPK value. So you can combine these NPK values in a ratio that you want the plants to have. Okay, for instance, I'm just doing it on pot. You have the NPK value for compost to be chicken manure to be 3 to 1, and that for blood meal is 1200. So I'm just saying NPK value, the N starts with the first 3, which is the nitrogen for the chicken manure. I'm just giving an example, not the direct figure. And the P for the phosphate, which is 2, and the potassium, which is 1, 3 to 1 for chicken. And you have blood meal that is 1200. It doesn't have nitrogen, doesn't have potassium, but it's very high in nitrogen. So when you combine these two together, you're likely going to have 12 plus 3 of the chicken manure, which is 3, which is 18. So you're having higher, which is 3 plus 2, 12, which is 15. So you're having higher NPK. You have fortified the NPK value in the compost by adding blood meal. So you look at those materials, the phosphates, the potassium, the source, the ash. Where is the ash coming from? Is the ash coming from ordinary wood? Is it coming from a bone? You can burn bone to ashes. And if that's bone you are looking at, you check the NPK value, then you can now marry these things and work them into the soil to the benefit of the plants that you want. So if the plants demand more of nitrogen, demands more of potassium, so you can work this thing out. So it gives you variation. It gives you leverage to be able to manipulate a whole lot of materials to your own benefit. So vermicompost, nitrogen, the nitrogen is also much, so you can also use that. These are materials you can use. Let's move very fast. I think we've gone. Okay, animal manure. Animal manure, nutrient content, chicken manure is high in nitrogen. Cow manure contains a balanced mix of nutrients. So let me tell you a little about cow and chicken manure. Now, chicken manure has a higher nutrient, in my own opinion, and by my own observation, than cow manure. But cow manure has this, especially the fiber and all those things that the cattle eat. So it introduces the soil structures. It helps with the soil structures a lot. So with this soil structure, you incorporate both of them. So you can use 2 of chicken manure and 1 of cow manure. 1 part, 2 parts of chicken manure and 1 part of cow manure, and you mix, and you have a very balanced nutrient. Chicken manure also has a micronutrient because of the kind of feeds that they consume, because the formulation of their feed are carefully formulated to deliver a certain nutrient that will help them to grow well. So once they excrete, they are poor digester. They do not digest most of their feed well. So you have most of these nutrients in their excrete, and these excrete, when aged for a period of time, you can actually incorporate them into the soil, and then the plant gets this benefit more. So chicken manure for me is better, but you can have a blend of everything and you are good to go. Rabbit manure, excellent. You can have rabbit manure as well, because I prefer rabbit manure because you can quickly incorporate this into the soil, and then without burning your plant. And also you can also get the urine as a form of biopesticides. So green manure, cover crops, we've done that already, where you and then you want to plant some maize, you plant cowpeas, you plant those things on the plant. Then after on the soil, after a period of time, you didn't plant them because you want to harvest. You plant them because you want to introduce nutrients to the soil. Then after a period of growth, maybe a month, then you till the soil, and then you have them incorporated into the soil, and you now plant the main crop. So green manure is very essential. Bone meal, excellent because it's rich in phosphate, and then you can sprinkle bone meal in planting holes or rows. Bone meals they are very slow releasing nutrients, very, very slow releasing nutrients. To make it act as a form of liquid fertilizer, you can actually mix bone meal with white vinegar. So white vinegar and bone meal, they mix the nutrient readily available, and then you can scoop up the nutrients, the water from the bone meal, and then you add into your water, and then you water your plants. They have those nutrients that they need. Fish emulsion. Okay, so the fish emulsion, I've explained how you fermented the fermented fish. We also use in broiler production, where we had pineapple and pawpaw to reduce, to break down the amino acid profile of the fish, so that the nutrient can be readily available, for the plant. So we have the fish emulsion. Like I said, it's a must for organic farmer. Get those raw fish anywhere you can lay your hands on, grind them and add molasses to it, stir and keep and let it ferment. The longer it stays, the better it becomes, and you can use it as fertigation to fertigate your plants and grow very sweet and big crops. Seed weights, we may mention about that. Kelps, these are usually imported, but they are very excellent information. So when you have delicate crops like tomatoes, like I said, where deficiency in certain nutrients can really hamper their development. So you need a blend of the compost, the seed weeds, the kelp, and all those things. You need a mix of it, the azomite, a mix of bone meal, a mix of blood meal, a mix of the compost. You do that, and then you don't need to spread. So you can now put in the hole as a basal formation where you are transplanting tomatoes on, or you can use as a dress, a soil dress around the plant, and then you have nutrient that is releasing slowly for the plant, especially during the dry season where you have irrigation lines where the nutrients are dropping and your plant will grow well. And usually, remember, in dry season, too, if your field is a green field, the oasis of the green field among all the dying feeds, you have to work very hard to protect your plants, because that is when the pests will come in. And like I said earlier on, the fruit bloom will help you attract these pests at the entrance of your field. Instead of them coming into your distance, you create the fruit bloom with pineapple, pawpaw, and the particular plant you are growing. Let's say you are growing okra, and you have more of okra in the mix of the fruit bloom, and you put in a container where pests can easily have access to, and you just put it at the entrance of your farm. So instead of them coming directly into your farm, this is where they go first, and then they perish in it, and you reduce the pest load on your farm. There will be lesser need for you to spray consistently, and you have leverage to reap more from your effort. Then rock phosphates. We may mention about it. Look for rock phosphates around. There are mining sites around. Tell them you are looking for rock phosphate. So I'm just informed I'm almost done. Let's run fast. Okay. Why percentage of NPK in organic materials are lower than synthetic chemicals? So I think I've mentioned there is a slow releasing, it's a slow release of nutrients, organic matter content, and the nutrient stabilizer. Wow, you can't go wrong. Let me see how to prepare and explain and apply organic fertilizer. Let me see what we need to be done. Wow, biopesticides. Okay, wow. There's a lot to do. We have limited time. So, oh my God. Yes, you can get the slides. So I think we share the slides. We share the slides with everyone. I'm just looking at some key areas we can really take a look at. Let's see. So let me talk about this companion cropping then, so we can quickly round up. So yeah, I did mention about companion cropping. We have predatory insects. Some of the beneficial insects like ladybugs and parasitic mites are used as biopesticides to control harmful pests. So for aphids, you have a companion plant that you can plant, which is in marigold. Marigold is very common, and dill can attract ladybug parasites, which are natural predator of aphids. So if you're having aphids on your farm, so you must plant marigold or dill. So you look for this and plant. If you have white flies, so you have to look for basil. Basil is very important for white fly because it attracts a parasitic pest that feeds on the white flies, which is a ladybug. Also caterpillars. If you have tomato ones, you need to grow dill, parsley, and also that can attract parasitic pests that will destroy this. The mealybug you need marigold and basil. So it seems basil seems to be appearing every year and there. So marigold and basil is very essential for you to take care of a plant because they attract other pests that feeds on the pests of certain plants that you'll be growing. So for tribes, you also need fennel, you need dill, and so these are the materials. I'll be sharing these materials. So companion plants for leaf hoppers, you have the lace wing, which comes into, so here's the leaf hoppers. So marigold, dill, coriander, fennel are excellent companion crops that you must plant in and within the environment so that they can attract the right pest that we take care of pests that is feeding on your plant. So the enemy of my plant is my friend. So this is what we do. The enemy of my plant is my friend. So we grow the plants that grow the enemy of my plant so that they can feed on them. So I think selecting biopesticides. Okay, we're almost done. Let's have questions. In fact, we couldn't, an hour wouldn't be enough.
All right, sir. So thank you so much. I know that an hour will not be enough. So we have set a pool currently. Please, if you are here to participate in the pool, it's showing on your screen. Just about 46% of us have participated. I've asked people if they want us to bring you back next month. And currently, 100% yes. I'm sure that we'll have to work out a modality so that maybe next month or the one after. But that's why I'm making it public so that you oblige us. I know you have a very busy schedule.
No
so
problem.
I think we'll just I would hand over to Mrs. Omitogun. Is she still on the call? Okay, she's not on the call, so I'll just continue talking. Mr. Omitogun, are you back here? Please, let's participate in the pool, and that way we can take a census. But sir, I don't know how you are going to do it, but you'd have to oblige us either next month, most likely next month or upper month. I'll come back behind the scenes to discuss the modalities with you. I hope that will be fine by you, sir.
Yeah, we work out.
Yes, because I'm deliberately putting you on the spot. All right, sir. So I'll hand over to Mrs. Omitogun to take over the question and answer segments. Please, we can still vote. I would end the poll in about 2 minutes. Please take over, ma'am.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Adisogisa, for the wonderful session we had today. You know, we said this at the beginning that we will enjoy today's class. Honestly, myself, I don't feel like we should put it to an end. But looking at time and considering people's other agenda for today, we have already put up a poll asking the participants if they would like this training to continue or we schedule the remaining part of the training for the next session. And wouldn't I know from the beginning of the training? Training is organic. Okay. The topic of today's training is an application of inputs in organic agriculture. And the content as shared from the beginning by Dr. Adisogisa, there are 5 in number. The number 1 is soil preparation. Number 2, we have organic fertilizer. And 3, we have pest. And 4, we have disease management. And the last one is sustainable farming practices. From the discussion so far, he has been able to take us through soil preparation and presently is in organic fertilizer. And we can see a whole lot that soil preparation is involved. You know, that shows and tells us that preparing our soil well from the beginning has a lot to do to the end and for sustaining the farming practice. So, and during the soil exercise, he talked about the importance of keeping our soil nutrients well from the beginning to ensure that the farming, the growing of our crops, to ensure that our crops are well grown, and we also talked about that once we prepare our soil very well, it helps the crop to fight against diseases and he said that diseases like fungi and pests. So as you can see, we because of time we need to go into question and answer for today, and we'll be giving usually we're supposed to give 15 minutes, but we don't know if we will have more questions because the class was quite interesting. So I will advise the kids stick to the 15 minutes instead of us reducing it to 10 minutes. So we would like to give 15 minutes for question and answer to take place. And I would like to indulge our participants. If you have any questions to ask, kindly raise your hand using the Zoom. Okay, we have Adebimpe Ogunbumi. Who is the first person raising a hand to ask questions. So you, madam, you have 2 minutes to put up your question. So you are the number one. Please, I don't know if Mrs. Adebumi, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much Mr. Saka, for the brilliant lecture. Okay, I have a few questions here. Number one is that how do I get to condition my soil to either, if assuming it's alkaline and what I want to plant would need an acidic soil. So how do I condition myself to either alkaline or acidic states? That's number one. Then number two, do we have biofungicides that helps fight against downy mildew, late blight, and early blight? Number three is, can we term this store-bought commercially sold foliar fertilizers, these hormone stimulants that we have, can we term them as to be organic, since we kind of like just spray them? We have so many brands in the market that they will claim, oh, it has seaweed, it has this, it has that.
Okay, hello, madam. Can we
hello?
In the chat room,
hello?
Are you done with your question, ma? Mrs. Adebimpe, are you done with your question? Okay, you have put it in the comment section. All right. I think you have put it in the comment section, right?
Yes, but yes, I'm not done. Not done.
Oh, okay, okay. Please go ahead. She was not hearing you.
Oh, I'm so sorry. That should be the network. Okay, so I think I just typed 2 in the chat box. Okay, then I was asking if we could term foliar fertilizers, the one we have, the commercially bought ones in the stores, the one that we buy in the store, can we term them to be organic? Then how, because to me, I feel chicken poo, we say fine, it's manure and all of that, it's good, but we know that most of how we source them, most of them are not from organic chicken. They are raised with commercial feed. Then how do we classify the poo? Can we still term it to be organic? I think that's about all. Thank you.
Okay, can I quickly answer that?
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Okay, the first question, how do you make your soil amendment to go in alkaline or acidic? If you want the acidic medium, then you are using more of sulfur, liquid sulfur. When you introduce sulfur to the soil, it becomes very, very acidic. So, and you can also use lime. You can also use lime to control the pH. The agricultural lime is sold in shops. You can use that to control the pH if the pH is not favorably. So you can go between acidic medium and also the alkaline medium to suit the peculiarity of the crops you are growing. For downy mildew and early blight and all that, I tell you, liquid sulfur, we have a product called liquid sulfur, is excellent, very, very excellent to control both downy mildew and powdery mildew, early blight, and even bacterial wilt. Very, very efficient also for pest control. So you can have that. Liquid sulfur will work. Then with the commercially available product, and let me remind you about produce that comes from abroad. Produce that comes from abroad, we undergo stability process, which are usually some certain chemicals, though some may be allowed in organic farming. But in Nigeria, where we have a much more relaxed situation in terms of regulation, there can be, you can be sure of what they use to stabilize those products, especially if those products are not a brand name around the world. If they are a brand name around the world and they have the OMRI logo and also certified organic for organic farms, then they may support because they know you have those eyes on them. But with those products that are not worldwide known and you deploy them, you risk having a compromise of actually what you are doing. Then for the chicken poo, now I did mention something that is very key, is you grow your own birds or your animals because you need their poo. So for you to have a sustainable approach to what you are doing, it is important you grow them yourself so that you do not need to start buying chicken poo from outside. So if you know you need chicken poo, then you can grow those birds yourself. So that way you can control what you feed them and what you have not. You understand? So this way you have excellent result. I think I've been able to answer all the questions, or is there anyone left out?
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much, Dr. Saka. I think we have one more question to go because only just the people that are hands down. The next person is Dr. Iwekure. Please kindly unmute yourself and put up your question.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Omitogun. I want to appreciate Professor Saka. I call him Professor Saka because the lecture he has given us this morning, I call it Organic Agriculture 101 in maybe just 1.5 hours. Thank you very much for that expository. I have this question. Yeah. How can we control snails in organic farming? Snails. Because I see that snails attack a lot of crops. They just come and they eat the leaves. So how can we control snails? Thank you.
Okay, snails can be very, very troublesome because they feed at night, and so you hardly can really trace most of their activities. Usually cutting off shoots of plants, especially when they are very young. To control them, we use palm wine or wines. You just get a bowl around the place you notice them. Instead of them going to the plant, they prefer to feed on the palm wine or wine that you put there, or beer, even beer, beer fermentation, they feed on it easily. So you just dig a hole and put those bowls there, and all the snails will come in there and feed. So you harvest them the next day. So I think it's very, very effective way to control snails. So you can use that. You can also use fermented fruits. You can ferment fruits and add some dash of wine or dash of palm wine, and then you just put the bowls around. You dig hole, you put the bowls around. You find them in there the next day. So it's an effective way to control snails, especially those small ones that cause damage. Hello?
All right. Thank you very much. Have you been able to answer her completely? Dr. Saka? Hello.
Hello?
Hello, Dr. Saka.
Yes, ma.
Sorry, I think I can't hear. Okay, are you done with Dr. Iwekure?
Yes, I'm done with that.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Because we really do not have much time again, and I can see 2 more ends off, and we can't receive we can't actually receive them in asking their questions. But while we're also trying to manage our time, we will indulge a participant to please restrict their question to just 1 question for now. Then I will keep the rest for the next section. Okay, the next person is Barrister Olushola.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mine is not a question. Mine, thank you. Mine is not a question. It's just an appreciation, particularly to KCOA, because I would say that is for some people, they might understand what I'm talking about. I think it's a watershed that we're having someone like Mr. Saka here today. I remembered when Dr. Judobi came in, one of the things he said was that it would be his pleasure for everybody in organic to come together. And I say that this is what is happening today. There are those of us who have consistently trained with Mr. Saka. And honestly, I would tell you that practically everything he has said here today works. And that is why some of us have done very well. So congratulations to KCOA, congratulations to Nuan. My prayer and volition is that we all come together to push organic agriculture forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for our organic mommy. I think we really appreciate you always. You're always there for us, and you're always ready to ensure that we get all we need to push forward the mission of organic agriculture in Nigeria. This is really thank you. And let me whose hand is raised is which is Reverend Ekerese Udo. Kindly unmute yourself and let's hear you, sir. Please go ahead. Hello, Reverend.
I think I'll just agree that the network took him off, but he put a question in the comment section.
Okay,
but you can also take Mr. Taiwo. Let me try and look for the question and highlight it for you.
Thank you very much. Please unmute yourself and put up your question.
Hello, good afternoon, all.
Good afternoon,
Kudos to this.
Okay, you're welcome.
Taiwo Duola is my name. Kudos to this presentation. And thanks everybody for at least dedicating time to reach. My question is this. In the various research institutes, there have been resistant varieties of crops that target certain diseases, even I think pests too, that are coming out. For example, downy mildew of maize, there is a resistant variety for it. And recently, armyworm, IRNT has brought out a resistant variety for it. Even the total soluter, I think the NIHOT, Agricultural Research Institute, came up with a kind of resistant variety. In organic agriculture, is it bad to interface with these resistant varieties of crops, more so that we know that they are produced synthetically or conventionally. Can we still use the seed, at least to some extent, to mitigate on most of these diseases that are prevailing in the farms? Thank you.
Yes, is a subject of controversy mostly, but the seeds, hybrid seeds, which they are called, are actually a product of selective breeding. Okay, there are some certain aspects of this selective breeding that comes from a process leading to GMO. Okay, so there are some processes in selective breeding which do not actually lead to GMO, but which are to improve the seed's resistance to certain diseases based on certain characteristics and behavior of the plant or of certain species of the plant that are bred together. This way, if the benefit is to grow a more resistant plant, in my own opinion, they can be used as seeds to mitigate against certain diseases. But if they lead up to productions of GMO seeds and all those, then it is out of it. But I know for sure there are some certain processes that starts in a way that leads to productions of GMO, but they are not necessarily GMO, and which are the product of which leads to products like the F1 variations of hybrid seeds and all the rest, which to me are okay. But in the sense of hybrids and helium seeds has the peculiarity of actually withstanding these diseases, because in the first instances, the problem was caused because we want some certain varieties of seeds to germinate and produce some certain yields that are extraordinary. So that leads and reduce the production time, which leads to we having them being highly susceptible to certain diseases. So, for instance, the maize you are talking about, we also have maize that takes 5 to 6 months to harvest, which are the traditional maize, the white maize that are much more even palatable than the hybrid seeds that we have around that grow within 92 or 100 days. So it's just in between. Is in between. Having helium seeds or local seeds are great way to really complement the organic system. But there are some seeds that you can't help it, then you need the F1 seeds, and you can also still make use of them. But it is important, very, very important, that we protect local varieties and we promote seeds that are heliums, those seeds that are that they are not F1. It is very, very germane that we do that, because most of these seeds are actually going into extinction. And there is a seed war going on right now. The control of seeds is the commercialization of organic farming system, conventional farming system, unquote, rather. So if anyone can control the seeds we use in growing, then it can control a whole lot of it. It has a grip of the farming system, and this is what the big companies are really working out to do. And what they do is to take away the local seeds away from us, makes the local seeds unviable for us to grow or plant, and then they introduce the hybrid seeds for us to grow. These hybrid seeds comes with their own peculiar problem as well. So, like I said, no system is ever going to be perfect. There's always going to be problems coming out with another problems and here and there. But with the helium seeds and the traditional seeds, is the best bet for the organic farmer to really work out to grow. Except if you cannot help it and you have the F1 seeds, you can grow. But for the GMO, please stay away clear of it. Thank you, sir. Hello.
Hello, thanks very much. I got you. All I just want to add is this. Once a seed is open pollinated and can be replanted over time, then I don't think it has an element of GMO, genetic modification. So, and I believe all those seeds too. I mean, like you said, the helium seeds can be used. Otherwise, most of these so-called local seeds, genetic value, most of them have lost their genetic value. How to build them up to get the appropriate, because it is also a factor of whatever effort you are taking on the farm. That's my concern. Thank you.
Yes, sir. The open pollinated seeds are not necessarily means that those seeds are not GMO or they are not F1 or they are heliums. It doesn't mean most open pollinated seeds can be of any form, can be either GMO, can be F1, can be hybrids, can be anything, can be even be the heliums themselves. The difference is the source of the seeds. Where do you get your seeds from? Who is selling the seeds to you? Are you getting your seeds from Syngenta? Are you getting your seeds from Monsanto? Then you know you are getting closer to having something close to GMO. Then you know that you are having a manipulated seeds at hand. So these are the source. So if your source of seeds is unknown, then you have to question that significantly. But usually in the olden days, our farmers share their best seeds amongst themselves. They don't sell seeds. Farmers in those days do not actually sell their seeds. It is now a tradition to go to seed shops to buy seeds and here and there, which is not the tradition. The farmers should be able to reproduce their seeds year in, year out. Open pollination is even the bane of the major problem because of pollution. If you have an helium seeds and you have an hybrid seeds in a close proximity, the chances of the cross-pollination from the open field is very high. So you have a risk of even having the hybrid seeds on your farm if you are even growing helium seeds and you have an hybrid seeds in the other field. Even you have a GMO seeds in another field also, it can also cause this serious effect. Mind you, these hybrid seeds require special fertilizer to grow them. They require special herbicides to grow them because they have been manipulated to resist some certain, accept some certain ingredient. So for you to know the kind of seeds you are growing, the chances that those seeds will withstand some herbicides gives you an idea that that seed has been manipulated. Okay, so for instance, if you are growing on a rice field and you have the field, the rice, and then you have a pre-emergence herbicides, and you have certain herbicides that you can spray on that plant, but it will suppress other weeds and that plant will not die. Be assured that that particular plant has been engineered to withstand the herbicides, and so it has been tampered with significantly. So when you have plants that can resist herbicides conveniently, know that you are getting closer to having something close to GMO. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So are we done?
Oh my God. Thank you very much, Mr. Saka, for the wonderful section. We've had comments from our participants on the view about the section, and it's been awesome. So at this time, we would like to bring to the meeting to an end. We'd like to thank our speaker for sharing his invaluable insights and experiences with us today. We have gained a deeper understanding on the preparation and application of inputs in organic agriculture. And I would like to put this forward to us. Let's remember that by embracing this, the learning we have gained from today's discussion and the knowledge that has been gathered, we will collectively strengthen the organic agriculture community and drive positive change in Nigeria. Once again, thank you everyone for being part of today's meeting. I hope that we enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll have a lovely day together.